Well, good morning. Welcome back to Big Board. Been goofing around with EFS, the Eastern Front System, Barbarossa, AGC, Army Group Center, etc., etc. Really is a long name, isn't it? So I think really what I should be calling it is Barbarossa, Army Group Center, and let you know that's from GMT, and then you can work out that it's part of the Eastern Front series. Going from there, basically. So anyway, let's have a quick look and see what's happened over 1.5 turns, just to get a feel for this smaller scenario. It's 10 turns. Action kicks off on turn 11, and it runs through turn 21 or thereabouts, I believe. And it picks up the gameplay. And pardon me while I move the camera around, so it might get a little wonky here. Picks up the gameplay with Vitebsk being cleared. There were no Axis units in it, but there were also no Soviet units in it. And then over here on the left northwest side, Poltsk, Poltsk, is underneath all that mess there somewhere. And it has not been reduced or taken, although in this particular turn it did fall. Orsha was not taken. Where is Orsha? Hello, camera. I'm out of track here. There we go. Right here, just right below it. See the word Orsha, right? That was not taken. And Mogilev, still not taken. We took 1 hex in the first turn, but took a step loss each in the second combat phase for the Axis. Now, you might notice that there's a lot of emergency supply counters on the board. The system here is interesting, and let me just zoom out a little bit so you can see a little bit more. And also, I guess before we get into the supply system, so the current status is that I've got 20th Panzer. Let's try and zoom you over here. Closing in on Smolensk with 20th Motorized supporting it, 7th Panzer follow along in the rear, a few other 7th Panzer units back here. And then from the south, I brought 10th Panzer and one regiment from the SS formation. I think that's the Das Reich. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up. A couple of little recon guys here off on the left field. So how did that all come about? Given that in turn 12, which is what this turn is, Smolensk actually fell. According to the victory conditions anyway, it falls this turn. I don't see how it's at all possible for that to be a reality, given the way the game system works and the game works in general. So, and then it doesn't mean it's broken or wrong or anything. I'm already feeling super uncomfortable with this level of supply attenuation and units dropping in behind my rear on both sides of the equation. So on the south here, I've got units blocking my line of supply. In fact, no real line of supply going to be available anyway. Based on how that works, I'd have to clear this main red route to keep both stacks, both the north and south pincers supplied. Supply in this game is a function of a number of hexes, either 7 or 5, depending on the weather, back to a main road, or a road, just not a minor road, and then 21 hexes back to a rail network or a supply source. So here in the center, you can see that blue counter there that says RoadNet 21, and there's another one here that doesn't come. That's got a white marker on it because it doesn't come into effect until turn 15. And then the one over here, that's as far as it can go just because of enemy activity. It would obviously project a lot further if that whole road there was clear, and that would actually help keep some of these other guys in supply. And then I've got another road net here because they can track back to the rail there or somewhere like that. So it's that is your sort of tether on your ability to project force into the east. But the interesting thing is, the first turn that this happens, where you're out of supply, no big deal. You move and fight normally, and it's all good. It'll be the following turn that you'll flip these over, and then you'll be out of supply. You'll lose 2 movement points, and you'll have some negative effects to your combat. And there are things you won't be able to do in terms of taking advantage of combat modifiers. Now, the other interesting thing that happens with supply is we have these. Where did they go? We have supply dumps and we have trucks. I need to put a marker down so I don't forget where this was. They have these little MSUs, mobile supply units. Those guys, can tool around the map, and they will activate. They will be available to be used for one attack to put you into what's called attack supply. Now, you can attack without attack supply, but you suffer a +2 penalty on the die roll. You are not allowed to use artillery, but you will be able to receive your combined arms and divisional integrity bonuses, as well as use air, based on what I'm reading. It's been a while since I've played, so I had to double check that, but I think that's accurate. And so that means that, that's why I've pushed these guys forward, because this will be the second turn coming up once we end this second turn. It'll be their second turn of being out of supply. So we'll flip all these guys over to out of supply, and now we've got a little bit of a problem moving forward from there, because we'll suffer more penalties. But I ran attacks all along here, except for 1 or 2, where I didn't use supply. My positive modifiers negated the negative modifier for combat, and I was able to apply a little bit of air to give me a little bit of an edge. And I also had the opportunity to execute a couple of overruns, which helped. The Soviets have been pushing, weak units in as an attempt to slow down the Juggernaut, because it consumes movement points when we do overruns, and it was not as effective as I would have liked, particularly in this area here. So a bit of a challenge. So it's easy. It gives you this. I think one of the things I like about the system is it gives you this dynamic concept of penetrative movement, and I will generally call it maneuver warfare. But this movement that's sort of divisions of armor pushing ahead, trying to make gains, while divisions of infantry are trying to roll through here, move through here, and Soviets are trying to push up and block lines of supply, execute on counterattacks, which are very, very difficult to do, because you really can only attack with armor unless you begin the turn adjacent to a Soviet infantry unit. And if the axis is adjacent, then the infantry will be able to participate, but you can't move the infantry based on the turn sequence. You can't move the infantry into to have combat. They have to be already there. So unlike OCS here, you get these sweeping moves, and not these snaking lines of every single hex with a zone of control or a stack of units. I like that about this game. I have my quibbles with it, with the supply system and the rail network and all the rest of it. It's still, even with some of the revisions to the supply rules, it's still a bit of a struggle. You seem to get more supply than you're able to use, and then it just goes to waste. And then you have these supply dumps that, if it's got two steps of supply in it, you use one, you flip it over to be an MSU, or if you flip it over to be an MSU, then you lose that dump. You lose that other step of supply, is my understanding anyway. So you've got to work out very carefully how to use that. You've got to use one of the supply points from a dump, assuming it's in range to be used for attack supply. and then that'll drop it down to an MSU, and then you can move that MSU and use it somewhere else, I guess. So there's a lot of fiddling around with that. Certainly not as laborious as OCS's earlier iterations, where we're shuttling 1 and 2 T at a time up to combats or to keep guys in supply. So it's very, very dynamic. As you can see here, we've got 17th and 18th Panzer and 20th motorized pushing in here. I started to try and cut all these guys off because there's big swag of armor here. And don't mind the fact that these have the wrong unit designations. I've played this enough that I just grabbed the units that had the right combat factors and the right number of steps, and they're the units we're using. These are obviously the Moscow formations that are supposed to be, I think, in Moscow. I don't believe they're actually supposed to be on this particular part of the map. Nevertheless, so I started to try and cut all these guys off, and then I was like, the hell with that. Let's lunge this way and stretch the line and force these guys either to fall back or have them potentially, go into out of supply. So super interesting, a lot of fun. It's playing pretty quick. I'm having to obviously check, since it's been a while since I've played. There's now included in the game a very good a double fold 4-page advanced sequence of play with rules references that you can lean on to know what the next step is, and then consider your options, and then look up the rules if you needed to refresh your memory. So I really am enjoying the second edition. It's a much more complete and satisfying product. Everything's in color this time. There's none of that horrible 300 or 400 DPI setup charts that were barely readable. And lots of assisting charts and documentation for breakdowns and things like that. So having a good time. In the meantime, I will also be playing The Fall of Tobruk. I'm just trying to gird my loins to dive back into that and deal with the chit activation and color coding of units. All right, off we go. Roll dice. Don't delay. Play today.